Welcome back. Will the 2012 elections prove that mainstream America has finally had enough? Since President Obama's election in 2008, our next guests say a storm has been brewing.
I don't believe this is just about health care. It's not about TARP. It's not about left and right. This is about the systematic dismantling of this country. I'm only 35 years old. I have never been interested in politics. You have awakened the sleeping giant.
The sleeping giant. So, are many more people finally taking notice of the issues? Let's ask the authors of Waking the Sleeping Giant, Tim Daughtry and Gary Casselman. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning. Thank
Gary,
you.
who's the sleeping giant?
Sleeping giant is what we're calling in the book the mainstream America, which is comprised of the 40% who identify themselves as conservative and 40% who identify themselves as moderates or independents.
And the way you lay it out in your book is you've got this minority, and they say 21%, we got a graphic, 21% of people in America identify themselves as liberal, double that conservative. So you're saying that this minority, and once you factor in the moderates as well, is pushing around the majority. How are they doing it?
Absolutely. The left has had a number of tactics for years that we talk about in the book. One of the big tactics that they use is they really don't debate, they attack. If you look at any major issue in the United States, what you see is that the left is almost always on the attack and the mainstream is almost always on the defensive. A perfectly good example right now is this whole flap going on with the Catholic Church.
Right.
That whole issue arose out of the issue of, do you believe in a right to privacy in the Constitution?
Sure.
A question in a debate just a few weeks back. And all of a sudden, the left has turned that into a question about whether the mainstream wants to outlaw contraception.
Right.
I mean, that's an absurd question.
Absolutely. And the mainstream media has framed it just like that. It's a war on women. It's not. It's a war on religion. What you say is that one of the problems with conservatives is the fact that they're not demanding. You know, they're more kind of live and let live. I'll see what's happening. And they have got to learn from the liberals and make some noise.
Yeah, one of the points that we make in the book, I think pretty strongly, is that there are pretty significant differences between the far left and what we're calling mainstream America in terms of their character type. The character type of the mainstream is much more live and let live, conflict avoidant, personal responsibilities expressed through taking care of their personal lives, their families, their businesses. The far left is much more combative, argumentative, confrontational, and in your face than the mainstream is.
And something we talked about just a moment ago is the right needs a strategy, and it involves the 3 R's, and they are recognize, reframe, and refocus. Briefly, what does that mean?
Recognize the path that the left wants to take you down. They always want to put us on the defensive. Then reframe the argument to put the left on the defensive. That's the main thing that we've got to do. We outnumber the left. We need to be able to put them on defensive. And then refocus the argument so that we're talking about the issues that are important to us. So with the whole situation with the Catholic Church, an example of that would be, you know, if you want to talk about privacy, let's talk about the right to choose your own health care in private.
Sure.
For heaven's sake, let's talk about the right to pack your own kid's lunchbox without a government worker sticking their nose in your lunchbox, if you want to talk about privacy.
Right.
That puts the left on the defensive. From there, we can begin to talk about the real issue, which is this country is going off a debt cliff. If we don't get that turned around, then nothing else is going to matter.
You guys really know your stuff. You should write a book. Oh, yeah, you just did. It's called Waking the Sleeping Giant. Timothy Daughtry and Gary Casselman, both PhDs. Thank you, gentlemen. And good luck on the book.
Thank you so much.